Man, episode 7 was so insanely disappointing that even Leslie Headland has come out in an interview talking about a completely different thing, talking about Chimere, and episode 6 more specifically, talking about a lot of speculation out there by the fans themselves who recently have started speculating that Mother Coral is in fact the Sith Master behind Chimere. She injured him, she abandoned him, and this is why he is all messed up in the head, even has his helmet. We're going to talk about that later too. But Leslie Headland, in a recent interview with Nerdist, she actually spoke about Mother Coral, and shockingly, she actually went on to admit everything. She said this, in regards to Mother Coral being the Sith Master, the secret Sith Master behind Chimere, she said, "Oh, I can answer that. They do not know each other. But I will say, as a tease, if we are able to explore this story more, her species will tell you a little bit about where she ends up." Well, naturally, now the whole thing shifts. We're no longer talking about Chimere because she said they don't even know each other. So if Coral and Chimere don't know each other, it means they haven't met, and she isn't the secret Sith Master. But what she is and her future holds could be not only will she appear in season 2 of Ahsoka probably, but her future could entail that she could be one of the Night Mothers, perhaps the main one. She does look like her a little bit, but older. And I know what you're saying, it's more than 100 years since Ahsoka season 2 and this series, but since she is a Zabrak and she is a Night Sister to top it off, anything could happen. They could just explain it off as she was able to live through magic for so long or whatever. Because as we saw, it was Coral who survived that whole ordeal with the Jedi on Brandok, and we haven't heard from her since. So essentially, she could have survived all this and appeared in Ahsoka as the Night Mother and will appear in season 2, where her real identity will be revealed. Obviously, I made my feelings quite clear about the latest episode, episode 7, that I think we just need to talk about anything else other than that episode. It was pretty disappointing. There was no reason why you couldn't just explain everything with short flashbacks. The last time we saw Sol and May together, Sol was about to tell her what actually happened. Why not just show them? Are you telling me that in episode 8, they're gonna discuss this episode again, what happened? May and Sol are gonna tussle back and forth. How could you? May was there when Sol killed Mother Anastasia. So May could have just been, you know what you did, and the flashback shows what happened in a flashback. Again, really frustrating. And I think it's funny that even though Rian Johnson is still not involved with Star Wars, Leslie Headland has gone beyond and above to copy Rian Johnson's style of subversion of expectations, to the detriment of this series, by the way. This episode, I thought, had a lot of Knives Out feel to it. If you watch Knives Out, it constantly goes back and forth. The movie progresses, but then we go back an entire scene. It's like watching two movies at once. But I don't think an entire 45-minute episode should have been devoted to just what happened in Brandok. We saw what happened in Brandok. All of these new pieces, new bits that we had, they could have been explained in dialogue or in flashbacks. That's it. You know what's funny is that the show was kind of picking up, especially episode 6 with Chimere and Osha. It was pretty tantalizing. An unknown planet, Chimere trying to seduce Osha, the dark side floating around, much more interesting stuff than what we got in episode 7. I kind of even forgot, to be honest. I kind of didn't care anymore of what happened on Brandok and how did they... Who cares? It's Chimere just exudes Sith confidence, that, villain approach like Palpatine, very intriguing. It was just picking up steam, and this episode not only put on the brakes, it kinda, as I said, ruined everything for me, and I suppose to a lot more other fans who were anticipating this episode to be all about Chimere and Osha. And there's so many things that went nowhere. The Virgins, what about the Virgins? All that excused is how May and Osha were created. We know how Osha and May were created. We already know that they were created by the Force. They didn't need to further explain it. And all of that talk that no, it doesn't ruin Anakin's creation, it kind of does. They double down with the Force virgins, because that's exactly what Qui-Gon said to everybody about Anakin, that he has encountered a virgins in the Force. There are just so many plot holes to discuss in this episode. I think it's kind of funny. I think that discuss this episode seriously. It is that bad. I mean, Soul, that whole notion that, look, he is gonna get to sacrifice either May or Osha because he can't hold both bridges. Hey, Soul, or Leslie Headland at this point, who wrote the script. I mean, come on. You don't have to hold hundreds of tons of bridge metal. If you can do that, if you can hold these bridges, then you can easily hold two small children and just guide them to safety if you're this powerful with the Force. Even if you want to explain a lot more, especially with Mother Coral, who seems to have influenced even Chimera at some point. I guess we're gonna find out in episode 8, but that's the problem that I have right now. You wasted an episode with episode 7. There's not gonna be any time. You're gonna rush through episode 8 to explain everything, because Coral is definitely alive. She survived all this. She was the one who saved May, and she was the one who probably taught or is the Sith Master of Chimera. She was the one who injured him, and she was the one who influenced him ultimately to get a Cortosis helmet to not get into your thoughts. That's why Chimera thinks that the Jedi too will get in his thoughts. That's what he says to Soul. But this correlates specifically to Coral, to this witch who can get in your head, surely. And Chimera has specifically made a helmet against the witches, not against the Jedi. So yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen in episode 8. Spoilers, guys. Coral is alive, and she's gonna come back to this planet. We see in the trailer that Soul is rushing through an asteroid belt, going for this planet too. So Soul and Coral are gonna meet up, and they're probably gonna fight, or Osha and Chimera are gonna be involved too. I literally don't know, but the problem is, do I care at this point? Because this is a discombobulated mess. This is when you don't double check your script, when you don't have a second draft. Episode 7 had so many plot holes that I just can't, as I said in the beginning, I can't take it seriously. I can't discuss it seriously. Let's talk about Torben, for example. I mean, he's a bratty, simple-minded Jedi. Even Indara kind of hates him. And the problem with that, if you think about it, is that how we are presented to Master Torben, by the end, he has taken the Barash vow, and he is this Jedi Master who can make a Force bubble, impenetrable bubble. Hey, hang on just a second. How did this bratty, dumb Jedi who makes impulse decisions to go kill every witch without the approval of his master, without anybody's approval, people are chasing after him as he sprints down to the compound to take the kids and kill the witches? Has anybody during writing of this script, has anybody just told Leslie Headland and the writers just stop? How did this guy become a Jedi Master after a few years? Let's give him a decade. You mean Anakin wasn't given the rank of Jedi Master, but Torben was? There's just so many ridiculous things. As I said, it's really hard. Episode 7, I was on board with a lot of things. Ki-Adi-Mundi's age, the rule of 2, and how that's interpreted and played with, and there's a lot of things that were shuffled, and I was like, okay, let's see where this goes. But episode 7, man, talk about going back and ruining your own show. They would have been much better off playing this story in flashbacks and dialogue, hints, mentions. We definitely didn't need to see this, but now it has completely ruined The Acolyte, and I don't know what's going to happen in episode 8, and I don't know what they actually want to tell in episode 8. It's just mind-boggling at this point, but we're going to make a lot of more videos during the week, so stay tuned, subscribe, and tell me all your thoughts down below.